It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Scent Hunting Sense,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Game Calls,
Twisted Minds Bowstrings,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Antler Action,
and Family Traditions Tree Stands.
And don't forget you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. Host Mike Adams sitting in a cabin night with Dan DeFall on this opening firearm weekend here in Michigan. It is the end of the first 4 days, so to speak.
First 4 days. Yeah. Season started on Thursday.
Mm-hmm. But, I was up for 2.5 days. I came back early Saturday afternoon-ish, made my way back home. And I know one of the guys, when we were doing our quick little tease video, said, "You guys are back so soon?" Well, didn't have to, but I did come back because my son just came home from college.
Right, exactly.
And he was leaving, and I needed to see him before he went back. So,
Tony Smith, what's happening?
So, we got
Billy Hoffman's being a comedian.
Yep, go figure.
Right? Exactly. I got back yesterday. You came back yesterday as well, right?
Yes. Yep, I did. And something I didn't see a lot of deer over on cars coming back, on trucks.
I saw a few.
I saw a few, but not a lot.
Did
your check stations, everyone I passed was empty?
Oh, no, mine, the one at, the one just right up here on 35, I can't tell you what.
What time did you roll through?
I rolled through, I got home at 2:30, so I was probably
coming before me then.
Okay. Yeah, coming through about 1 up there at that check station. The bridge, I guess, they were higher on their check-ins at the bridge.
Okay.
At this time last year, they were higher with their check-in as of 7 a.m. yesterday morning.
The one 6 miles down the road from us didn't have anybody at it. I stopped there to check my trailer before I hit the road, make sure everything was tied down good. The one in Mayo, I think there was one car at as I drove by that.
Really?
And then I stopped at Cabela's in Saginaw on the way home to pick up something I needed, which I'll talk a little bit later here in the show. And they had a check station there, and as I pulled in, DNR guy is sitting in his truck. There's nobody there, and he's looking at me. And because he could probably tell I had a hunting vehicle, I had the bike on the back, my cooler and everything. And
he's thinking, I got something to do.
Yeah, so he starts to get out of his truck, and I pull in, I park in front of him, and lock the door and go in the store. And he just kind of looks at me. I come back out, he's gone. They closed up shop.
Really?
That was at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
I went in right before 4, and I was out at 4:05.
So he was done at 4.
4 o'clock, yeah.
Probably 8 to 4. So, I'm thinking, but anyways.
So, yeah. And then the other one downstate here, I didn't see anybody at that either.
Coming home, the one downstate here, they were lined up. I'd say there's probably about 8 to 10 cars in line.
Okay.
On the road itself, I did see a few bucks on tops of cars, behind cars. I seen a few legs.
Okay.
See
you, Jake. Yep, you too, buddy. Take care. Drive safe. That's my boy going back to college. Leave my credit card here.
Right.
Don't take it with you.
But, it was overall impression of your opening day as far as gunshots.
As far as gunshots, nothing out of the ordinary, but my overall experience was the best I've had in maybe... I can't say when. I don't know that I've had a better opening day experience than what I had.
Okay.
And I didn't kill a deer.
Right.
So.
For me, it was...
gunshots about normal.
About normal on your gunshots?
Maybe down a little bit. Yeah. Wasn't very many.
It was, I guess, opening day for us, it starts off kind of... If you hear 20 gunshots, that's a lot.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Being private land.
In the morning, it was it ramped up a little bit, and then I think 11 o'clock, it died off till way later.
You stay out all day?
Yeah, I stayed out all day.
Okay.
I really wasn't expecting to shoot anything.
You whacked them all last time you were up.
Well, that's kind of another thing. But anyways, we had 2 guys in camp that had never gotten a deer before.
Okay.
So I told those 2 guys, if you need anything, you come get me and we'll take care of it. Because that's the way I wanted to do it, and I'd gladly help out. I already had one, so I was like, okay, I'll be the gopher.
Did you see any bucks?
Yeah, I did. I saw a half rack of a 4-point. A 4-point itself, he came in opening morning at about 11. Couple of spikes.
Okay.
And then after that, didn't see... Well, that was what the bucks I saw.
Okay. All right.
So as far as other bucks being saw we had 5 people. The 5-point was the biggest.
Okay.
So, and he chose not to shoot it. So,
okay, gotcha.
But
because you're where you're at is not an APR zone, so you.
Well, it depends on what license
tag,
you buy. Yes.
Yeah.
If you buy the combo, you're under APRs.
On one tag.
If you buy a single, then you can shoot whatever. But everybody we had was APRs.
Okay, gotcha.
I think except one. But there again, he didn't. I think he saw 4, but didn't shoot it. So.
All right.
But it was. Getting there was more interesting than that. But it was a good overall camp, having all the cousins in, and it was good. It was fun.
Okay. Huh. Billy Hoffman. Neighbor's adult son who only hunts opening weekend killed my number 1 hit list buck opening morning. That's hunting. That stinks, man. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but I mean, yeah, you're right. That's hunting. That's just the way it goes. But yeah, we had a good time up there. You know, everybody stayed out pretty much all day, which was kind of a first for our camp because usually we have a lot of transition back and forth. But I think most of the crew stayed out all day.
Okay.
You know, and this is my third year, maybe 4th year of doing that. And on the second day, I was sitting there and I realized, I'm thinking, this blind's about 6 foot by 8 foot. How can anybody do solitary confinement in an 8 by 10 cell and only be outside for 1 hour out of the 24?
Pretty wild, isn't it?
You know, and I'm like, and on top of that, there's a bed and a toilet and a sink in there on the cell. You know, I'm like, I was going stir crazy by the second day, but I had a lot of action though. You know, so
gotcha.
How about the weather? How was the weather for you?
Oh Lord! On a good note, my brother did get a 6-point this morning.
Oh, good deal.
He got one, and the deer got him.
Okay.
So I think he hit one, which was Saturday morning with his car.
Oh, okay.
And then he hit a deer with his gun on
gotcha
this morning.
Okay.
Weather was a trip. I left here Tuesday morning, 5:00.
Yeah, and it was nasty from what I remember.
So not a lot of snow.
Right, just freezing rain.
Just enough to mess up the roads like you wouldn't believe. I left here at 5:00. I was right on schedule. I got to Mount Morris Road. And I started to go sideways.
Okay.
I said, okay, we're going to back it down. So I backed it down, made it to Birch Run. And
another 10 miles maybe.
And then all of a sudden, we're going to back it down some more.
Yeah.
So we just all started coming to a crawl.
Yeah.
And as we're crawling, literally, I had my foot off the gas and I was just rolling.
Yeah.
The semi in front of me started to go sideways.
Nice.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a right-hand curve where the highway kind of leans that way.
Right.
And he just started going, and I'm like, oh,
nice.
That's not good. By now, we've seen accidents. Hey, bet you there's a few people out there that realize that their 4-wheel trucks end up in the woods just as good with anybody else when you're on ice.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Because I saw a couple of nice trucks that were into the woods. Emergency vehicles everywhere. For the first time ever, I got to the Zilwaukee Bridge, and the semis were pulling off to the right, waiting.
Because I couldn't get up the bridge.
Because one that tried was about 3/4 of the way to the top and was at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, that stinks.
And I was like, oh. But then the exit past that, that's where the state cop got hit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that. That was a tragic.
I saw that.
That was very tragic.
Was it? I saw the cop car was in the middle of the melee as I was crawling by.
I think he's actually deceased, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember right.
And then what happened was I got above that, and it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
So I kind of got up to speed, got to West Branch.
Got moving.
Got moving to Wolverine.
Okay.
And then Wolverine, you know the message on the side of the highway, the message board?
Mm-hmm.
Heavy snows at Wolverine. Yep, I hit it. I hit Wolverine, and from Wolverine to the bridge,
whiteout.
It was whiteout.
Not good for you. Not a good start to the trip.
Normal 8-hour trip took me 10.
Okay.
So, but once I cleared Mackinac, I was into the straights, and it got a lot better till I got to the Western UP and got a little dicey, but it was a lot better. So that was interesting.
Yeah, our weather wasn't too bad. I got up to camp just fine. I rolled up 75 normal speeds, got to camp, had a good time, got rusted up, and got up the next morning, and we had snow on the ground. We had a couple 2-3 inches of snow on the ground, and when I woke up that was my opening morning scene out the window, out one of the windows there where I was hunting. So
nice.
You can see, especially by the time that the sun actually got up to where you could, start seeing through the trees and everything. It brightened up pretty nice.
What was the temperature?
12 degrees.
I know, it wasn't a little cold.
Cold ain't the word, man. I was running the heater, and about halfway through the day, and I was running off and on. And me, how I, actually go over there real quick and just grab my backpack. Everybody's always asked this and wants to know how I roll in as you knock everything off the table here. Right. So I'll send this picture here that you get back. But the way I kind of roll through my season hunt is I always pack extra clothing. Yeah, pick the whole thing up. And I don't have everything in there. I just want to show you this is how Mike rolls into the woods. And everybody at camp kind of makes fun of me, but Mike stayed warm. There was no issues with Mike staying warm. So go ahead and sit back down. All right, get this between us here, and come back to the shot here on the live stream. So here's my pack, right there in the center.
Yeah, you got.
And on the side, I got bibs, and on the other side, a coat and bibs. So that's how I roll. And that's the heavy parka stuff that I pack in and use. So,
right, exactly.
Plus all the other gear.
I walked in as light as I could, and I got there, and it's like, man, I'm still cold. It was cold.
Yeah. Oh, it was brutal.
And then I got up in my stand. I had the heater out there. But I was able to get my heavy clothes on right away. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I had to do it with deer in.
Yep.
They were there already, and I was like, okay. And then, like you said, I do the same thing, off, on.
Yeah. Because I don't like to get too warm.
Right, exactly.
But then if it's getting really cold, I throw the heavy gear on. I mean, I had my scent lock gear on. I had the heavy stuff on that, plus a couple base layers, and then my thick neoprene boots, insulated boots. But that's emergency stuff that I carry, and actually I did break it out every day. Every morning.
Was cold.
I put that on about like 10 o'clock in the morning. It was just getting too cold.
We had a brutal stretch up in the UP where it's been cold, and I found out when I got to camp.
So
it wasn't good again. So,
but I'll tell you what, we're running up here on our first break. Let's take our first break. Let's come back. Let's kind of get into what happened at camp and start rolling through some of that stuff.
Sure.
So, all right, we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this message.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back, second segment of the show. Sitting here talking about our up north trips to the UP and to northern Michigan for deer season.
Yeah.
Cold weather, snow.
Definitely snow.
Yeah.
Definitely cold. Overall, seen quite a with the snow, you can tell tracks.
I can see tracks going in the morning without headlights. I mean, you could see in the snow.
Oh, yeah.
It was we had a half moon, and there was no cloud cover at daybreak. And I wound up, the snow started moving back in again. Like right after, like that last picture I showed you here, the one where the sun's, here we go, cracking over across the horizon. Right after I took this photo, all the clouds moved in, we started getting snow.
Did you get snow bands? Were you getting?
No, it snowed all day.
Okay.
It snowed. It just kept coming down.
Friday, we had those. It would be nice and kind of light out, and all of a sudden it'd get really kind of dark, and then just snow.
Then you knew it was coming.
And then it would lighten up again.
Right.
It was pretty wild. So, but yeah, with the snow on the ground, we got out on Wednesday, checking our spots. I went out to my spot, pulled camera cards, to get a visual as to what's going on. Coyotes on the camera, bear on the camera. The biggest one we had now on camera after October was a 6-point.
Okay.
And I was hoping Nick or Dan was going to see them, so get their first one out of the way. And
it didn't happen.
Not yet.
Oh, are they still up there?
They'll be up there for a little bit of this week and some till next weekend.
Okay.
But yeah, it and with the tracks, I was seeing plenty of tracks, which was good. And then the does. I have to admit, all the deer that I seen without taking their temperature or anything like that looked healthy.
Okay.
There's some nice big does. The young ones looked healthy. There was one that was kind of... Actually, I saw her trying to feed off mama still.
Really? That's odd.
Right. But I don't know if she's doing it out of habit or...
Yeah.
But...
That's different.
So...
well, the party started for me at 7:30. I saw my first deer. It was a doe. And then after that, they just kind of started trickling through. Here's a couple coming through. I think that's a little button buck. They're leading the charge in front of mama there. And I saw 6 different bucks that day, including this little guy. So you really, if you want to talk about antlered deer, there was 5. And I saw 22 deer total.
Okay.
That day, which, that was a good sit all day. And I didn't move from this stand, but I seen 15 in the morning. Then I got up and I went and checked a couple cameras that I hadn't got to yet and pulled cards on them and then sat down on my field just to see what was going on down there. And the only thing I saw down there that evening was a buck.
Okay.
So he was one of the 6 that I saw that day. But there was another buck that I actually got to see, and it was this little guy here, this Spike. And at first he was coming from the left to my right, and he gets straight out in front of me, and he was just walking along. He wasn't in any hurry. He wasn't chasing a doe, wasn't doing anything, outlandish. He was just going from point A to point B, and he threw the brakes on. And all of a sudden, he kind of looks up and just stands there for about 30 seconds. And I'm like, uh-oh. I said, something's coming. I said, it's either a big buck that he's already had a fight with and got his butt kicked. I said, or a coyote. And I had heard coyotes at 8 o'clock in the morning. Heard him pack up and yell.
Really?
Yep, at 8 in the morning, which is a little late. Heard him again at 9. Same thing. I'm like, well, they're probably on a gut pile or a deer. And then I heard him again at 10 o'clock. And I'm like, well, 10 o'clock, this is crazy.
Right.
I remember the experience I had with the 4 packs last time I was up. And it wasn't real far from where this stand is. I'm in a box blind here.
Okay.
Well, this deer comes through at 10:30. So, and when he stops, he turns, and the pictures I got here, he's going back up the trail where he just came from.
Right. He turned 180 and said, "I'm leaving."
And it's a little blurry because I zoomed in on it. Now I took it with my iPhone real quick. And yes, I was on my phone on Facebook when he came through. I just kind of looked up, and there he was coming down the trail. So I put my phone down after I saw him, and this is what was trailing him. Nice little.
Well, he was just taking a nap right there in the deer saw him?
He did right there. I put him to sleep.
Oh, you gave him a knockout pill.
Yeah, I rocked him to sleep.
You did?
Yeah. So
just one?
Just one coyote. Yep, he was the only one I saw. I mean, if there was others there behind him, and they never came out.
Okay.
But yeah, he was coming up that trail right at him. As I put my phone down, turned and looked back to my right, I seen him coming, and
you said, "Oh no, you don't."
I just immediately, out of reaction, turned. I just reached back behind me, grabbed my rifle that was on my right-hand side, threw it up in the window, put the crosshairs on, touched the safety off, and it was lights out. But as you look there, you're like, well, Mike, doesn't even look like you hit him.
Well,
and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, man, I didn't, and I shot him with a 7mm mag. I mean,
at how
30 yards.
30 yards.
And I'm like, did I just knock him out from percussion? Well, I went down and took photos, and when I rolled him over, I found out why.
You removed half of them.
Yeah. So yeah. When I shot him, actually, it didn't even take a step. He just rocked over. Yeah. So let me get back off that picture. That's a little gross.
But just kind of just was standing there. You shot him, and he just dropped.
Yeah, he was on the move. Yeah, he was moving forward, and I just put it right behind his shoulder and touched it off, and that's what happened.
Yeah, lights out, one less.
Yeah, and the buck didn't even have the common courtesy to come back and thank me.
What kind of buck is that? Hopefully next year he will thank you by showing up as a bigger buck.
Yeah, I still probably wouldn't shoot him. I think he was a year and a half old buck, and I was definitely looking for some stuff.
Well, absolutely, but
it was bigger,
You gave him the opportunity to grow.
That's it. That's just it, as we, our friends say, let them go and let them grow. And, I've seen plenty of bucks. And actually, right after I shot that coyote, I'm kicking back, and it must have been probably 11 o'clock by then. And I'm thinking about lunch, thinking about, do I need to get up and go and check my cameras and move back down to the other blind on the field for the evening hunt? And, just kind of trying to stay warm. And all of a sudden, I look to my right, and here comes this doe just flying out of the swamp. I mean, she is like...
Holland?
She's like, I-75, somebody trying to go up north, and you're doing 75, and they go by you like you're...
Yeah.
So she comes flying out, and I immediately get the gun in the window. I said, something's chasing her. And I said, it's got to be a buck. And all of a sudden I heard,
there you go.
And come over the little hill. They were zigging and zagging, and it was a 6-point. And I kind of laughed and just like, oh, okay. Put the gun back down and sit and watch him. And they almost ran over the coyote.
Really?
They crossed around him twice, figure eighted around him. I'm like, well, the coyote definitely doesn't bother him. I said, because he's on her tail pushing her. And then they took off and went on down the ridge. But and then, was it before? I think let me back up just a little bit. Before the coyote.
Well, I tell you what, Charles Byram tells you that those yotes are so pretty when they are sleeping like that.
Isn't he cute? He's cuddly. You just almost walk up to him and just pet him.
and Jim Stork says, because he's over in Lewiston.
Right.
I told you about him earlier. Two of 3 coyotes chased his brother after he dropped his deer.
That's crazy.
I got to find out more.
We got to find out about that story and get it on the show here. So
get Mark on the show.
But I did see a buck.
Okay.
That I laid eyes on that was like, okay, here we go. Game on.
All right. Same blind.
Same blind,
okay.
Yeah. And I'm hunting near the property line. We got a 2-track right on the property line, and that's how I get to my blind. And I can see across on the neighbor's property, and here come a doe busting out. She busted right across in front of me, down through the little valley in front of me. And I'm like, man, she's moving pretty good. I said, I think something's chasing her. I said, it's got to be a buck. I kept watching and watching. All of a sudden, here come another doe. But she didn't come the same way. She kept running down the property line. And the bigger buck come right through, right behind her. And I could see him. I got the scope on him, had the gun up, got the scope on him on the neighbor's property. And I could have took a Texas heart shot at it, but it had been on the neighbor's property, number one.
Right.
And number two, is in some thick stuff, and that's the only shot that I really had. And I'm like, okay, if he crosses right up here, I'm looking at the next section that's open. I said, right there's the 2-track. He'll be on our property. So I got the gun up in the wind. I'm waiting. Doe crosses. He comes out, and as soon as he comes out, he's butt to me again.
How big was he?
He was 3.5-year-old buck at least.
Okay.
High rack, wide rack. Just nice buck. I never did count tines, but it's one that when you see it, it grabs your attention.
Yeah,
exactly. That's
what
I'm looking for. So, there's nothing you can do. You just let him go.
That's that. Well, that was it, right? So okay. So he came out exactly where you wanted to him with his
bride to be.
Yeah. For the next 24 hours.
Yep.
And after that, he just went away from you at that point?
Yeah, they went down and disappeared. I never did see exactly where they disappeared into. I mean, they went over a hill, and it's another ravine. They went left or right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was it. So
as soon as they go over or anything, it's like, okay, they could have went either way.
Yeah, at that point, it was probably about 300 yards, 250, 300 yards. So I was like, okay, disappointment, but at least I seen him. And I never seen that buck on camera.
What time was that?
It was somewhere between 8 o'clock and 10:30.
Okay.
When I shot the coyote.
Okay, it was before the coyote. Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right.
So, but long story short, I eat lunch, got up, went and checked some cameras, went down, sat down in the low field, turned that heater on because it was getting colder, and then as I started to finish the day out, I was like, I'm not seeing anything here. So it's 4:45. Last shooting legal light was 5:38. So I got up and I kind of went old school. I went out and set out in a ravine next to a tree where a deer crossed.
Okay.
And as I'm walking up, I'm like, okay, do I hunt this spot where I'm at, or do I go and hunt another little valley where I know deer cross? And I started to go to that valley. And as I'm right to the point in the road, the split in the road, coyotes fired up and howled. And I'm like, okay, I know where they're going to come out. They're going to come out right by where this tree I'm sitting next to, so that's where I went and sat.
Okay.
And as I'm sitting there next to this tree, I get down there, and I've got, half hour, 45 minutes of light left, and I wasn't there 15 minutes, and all of a sudden I hear crash, crash, crash. 3 deer come flying over the hill within 15 yards of me and almost run right over top of me.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm sitting right next to the 2-track on top of it, They get right to the edge of the 2-track, and they just stop, like they put the brakes on, like, wait, got to look both ways, make sure nobody's coming. And they did. They looked both ways, and then they crossed the road.
No way.
Dead serious. I am dead serious. And I just started cracking up, man. I was like, really?
You do got to watch when you cross the road.
Yeah, well, they were.
Wow.
So, yeah, but I could have cut them in two. I mean, they had no clue I was sitting there.
Right, exactly. They obviously didn't care about you.
Yeah. I didn't see the coyote, but I did see another small buck come through there, and he was probably 30 yards walking through broadside, just like, oh, pa-dope.
Man,
I saw 6 deer while I was there that last 45 minutes.
And one was a buck.
And one was a buck, yeah.
Man, you had some serious coyote encounters.
Yeah, it was crazy, man.
We did not hear hide nor hair of them when we were up there. We saw some tracks.
But you know what? After I shot that one, we didn't hear any more. Seriously.
Really?
Seriously. Didn't hear another one. Now, a guy at the other end of our property,
okay,
a neighbor of ours, shot one. I heard from, there was a mom and a daughter in a blind hunt together at our place on the south end. And the neighbor shot at a coyote. You heard the gunshot, and then you heard, like a dog.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how and yipping and howling and barking. And they said that went on for almost an hour.
Oh.
They almost started crying, telling the story. And I feel bad if I'd done something like that. I was like, man, at least get out and put it out of its misery.
Exactly.
You know?
Why?
So
take care of it.
Yep, exactly.
If you're going to do it, have the common courtesy to take care of it and be done with it, right?
Right, exactly. So, but it was by far one of the most exciting opening mornings that I've been a part of in a long, long time. And it was just nice seeing deer movement. You know, I got to see one nice buck, but just seeing the potential that we've got on our place, you know, that's coming. Absolutely. That was one of the things. Now, out of all the hunters that were there, how many bucks did you guys get? Or did you guys take any does? Not yet. No.
Okay.
Everybody's kind of holding off, I think. Yeah. We had a youngster that was there who's been hunting, I think, 4 or 5 years with us now. His grandfather's a member there, and he shot his first buck.
Excellent.
Shot an 8-point. So,
excellent. Good.
Yeah, he finally got that off his back.
Right. No kidding. That's one of that's one of the things. Just getting it off your back.
Yep.
It's like just shoot one, get it off your back.
Yep.
Away you go.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, that is awesome. I know cold weather was pretty much all over the state.
Oh, and then snow. Man, did it snow that night. So, but I tell you what, we're close to a break here. Let's take our second break. We come back, let's pick it up there.
All right.
We're going to step outside and we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Welcome back. Third segment of the show. So, second morning. How was second day?
Second morning. Knowing I had to go home the next day, I planned to hunt a half a day, and then I needed to break down different things to get.
Okay.
So I knew I got out there, and yeah, there's a deer there. Saw him. I'm like, all right. So I was using my new platform that I built.
Okay.
Awesome. I love it. I just got to work on the shooting lanes.
Okay.
You know, had a little time on my hands while I was up there to think about that.
Isn't it crazy the things you think about while you're in the stand?
Well, that was it. I put it up, and I'm like, okay, I'll hunt out of it. I made sure I could shoot in a couple of different directions. But now that I've sat there more, it's like, well, okay, I need to clear this out, and I need to clear that out. Change this around a little bit. And
when you sit in the blind all day, you got things to think about. And I was thinking about habitat that I want to do. I was thinking about, I need a shooting lane here. I need one over here.
So
turn my blind a little bit.
Okay, so exactly what you were thinking. I was like, okay, if I wanted to put a food plot in this area, where would I do it?
Right.
You know, and there's on my left, there's kind of an opening, kind of a strip. I'm like, something could go in there.
Right.
You know, I'd have to clear it out. And then to my right, kind of another strip. And it's kind of in the opening, so it would get sun, it would get moisture. So I'm like, okay.
Possibilities.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I kind of mental noted that, and just, shooting lanes, what I want to do next year, clear out, maybe get some couple little shooting plots in there maybe.
Right.
But the second day, got out there, and first 2 deer in. After that deer, I got to my stand, the deer left. And then I got in my stand, I got comfortable, and I look, and 2 spikes came in. And one thought he was Mr. Bad Butt himself and had his ears back, and he's just walking around.
Playing stud.
Yeah.
Right.
They ended up going 2 different ways, which tells me it's a good thing at that time. So
right.
They're totally different mindset. They weren't following each other. One went right.
Cross
one,
paths.
One went left. Saw some does after that, and then pretty much after that, I said, okay, it's noon, so I'm going to pack it in, and I had a plan to evacuate there, and couple up and down trips down the ladder, and
Right.
it's like I'm going to add a rope so I can.
Right on.
Right. So that was another thing I talked about. But yeah, no. Got back. I had to go pull a camera. So I cleaned up that area, pulled everything out, and then I had to go into the back corner. So I was able to walked it really slow, getting back to that camera. I seen where the deer are starting to make their own path through the clear cuts.
Okay. Where everything's starting to grow up, they're making their own way.
I was looking at it, and it was a good walk from basically from the front of the property to the back of the property through the clear cut. And I was able to see where they're starting to
make trails.
And I was like, okay, this one funnels right into the woods here, and it goes to the swamp on. If they go left, it goes up into the woods, and if it goes right, it goes down into the swamp. Mm-hmm. And I kept walking, and then I found another trail that goes into the back corner. So I'm letting them kind of dictate how the landscape is going to be of where to set up and try to ambush these guys.
Set up some ambush points, exactly.
One of my blinds that I have there already looks like I need to probably maybe turn it, and it will become good again.
Okay.
So we'll see. I pulled that camera, got out of there, and then I just basically went back to camp and started cleaning up and packing and getting ready to come home Saturday. So it was a good time. It was short, but it is what it is. I was able to get up there.
Right. Well, Tuesday was slow, definitely slow, and that's the day I started.
Friday?
Yeah. Why did I say Tuesday? Yeah. See, I went crazy. I went stir crazy.
See?
But yeah, sitting in the blind, man, I just you sit there all day. I saw three doe that morning, and they were all at separate times. Thank goodness, or it would have been a real long day. But they came through, meandered through, and did their thing, and away they went. And then I saw a small buck at one point, and in the middle of the day, I'm like, you know what? That's when I started thinking about how people in prison stay in them small little cells. I'm like, I got to get up and just walk for a minute, just to get my head cleared. Get out of here and get some fresh air. And I don't know if I had the heater running too much or what, but it's just I got up and I said, I got a camera I need to check. It was close by. I checked it the first day, and it was a new one that I'd put out, and actually monkeying with it, I forgot to turn it on. So I'm like, great. So I turned it on. That was day one before daybreak, and I thought, well, I'll go down there and I'll just see what came across that camera in the last day and a half. And I walk over there, and as I'm coming down the ravine, and it's where I put that double set tree stand.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I'm looking to the left, looking to the right, really checking, making sure there's no deer, because it's pretty thick in there, but I can see the deer runs, Okay, so I sneak down to the camera, lean my rifle against a tree limb, turn the camera off, change cards, and put a new card in, closed it up, and reached for my gun. And I wasn't there 30 seconds. I picked it up and I turned around and looked up the trail, and there's a buck 40 yards standing there looking at me.
Really?
Yeah, I called him a couple names. And it was like a standoff, And I'm like, okay, who's going to blink first? Who's going to move?
You did.
And I'm like, he ain't going to move. Okay, so I eased the gun up so I could see, because he's in some thick stuff. I couldn't really see his antlers.
Okay.
And tried to scope him, and I really couldn't make out how big a set of antlers he had. I knew they were tall, but they really weren't wide. I couldn't count the points. So I'm like, okay, so you just stay right there. I'm going to walk back up this hill, and hopefully you don't bust. But I know that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, right.
So I take about 15 steps, and actually I'm like, oh, he ain't going to move. Okay. And by the time I thought that, away he went. So that was one of the 3 bucks I'd seen that day. The last buck I'd seen was probably the last 45 minutes. Yeah, last 45 minutes shooting light, sitting in the blind. And, you get to that certain time of day, that last hour, when you're just on super mega high alert.
Yep.
And you're just amped up, and, everything that moves or creaks or anything, it's like you're on edge. And had the gun, my gun sitting in my lap, ready to roll, had safety on, but I was ready just for a quick move up to the window and shoot. And I'm looking back over across that 2-track over across the property line, and where that buck I saw the day before, where he crossed the road.
Yeah.
I was looking in that little opening, that little window, and all of a sudden, out squirts a doe, and she's hauling. And I'm like, uh-oh. Okay. Gun's up in the window, and I said, okay, she's going to come out in this opening right here. So I get the scope, and I just do one of those quick glances to my left off the scope to check back where she came out through. Sure enough, here he come. And I went, okay. So I'm watching, and he hits the opening. And when he hit the opening, his butt was to me too, just like the day before.
Really?
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And there was nothing I could do. And then he kind of squared up and turned and went, and I watched him go down the ridge towards the swamp. And as he turned to go, I could see him through the trees moving. I mean, he was moving. He was after her. And I was going, real loud to try to stop him. And he turned and started coming back towards me a little bit. And I'm like, that worked. So I swing over, I'm getting ready, and all of a sudden he just kind of stopped and turned and went down in the swamp. So I think that was the track she took because I quit watching her. My concentration was on him.
Exactly.
I think he was just following her. I don't think he ever heard me.
Yeah, it's
He had love on his mind.
Oh, absolutely. They one-track mind.
Yeah, he was ready to give her a ring.
Yeah, exactly. And they're on it.
I was trying to put my scope ring on him.
Exactly.
So
no, it's awesome when you get action like that. I had when the 4-point came in, he came in and checked a few does that were in.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then he just kind of headed on his way and off he went. And you know what they're doing. And
oh yeah. And that was it. Every buck I saw, but probably 2 or 3 of the 10. I think I've seen 10 different bucks in 2.5 days, which
nice.
To me was like, this is cool.
That's awesome.
But they were either all chasing or sniffing. They were on a mission. But most of them were bumping does.
Yeah, we had a half rack 4-point. Yeah, and he thought he was Captain Bad Butt.
Yeah,
checking everything, looking around, like,
walking sideways because he lost an antler.
Almost. Sometimes you think about that. Him and it was awesome. It was the rubbing the trees and leaving the licking branch, and then they went over to they're kind of forming a scrape.
Yeah, I found a new scrape in my field, which was exciting because it's the first time I found a scrape in this spot.
Oh, good.
That's when I was checking my trail cameras on the first day at lunchtime, walking around before I went into that blind. I'm like, oh, cool.
Gotcha.
So, but the thing that really was that day, that morning, this is what we woke up to.
The first morning?
No, that second morning.
Oh, second morning.
Second morning after the first day. We woke up second morning. We had about 8 inches of snow on the ground.
Okay, so was it windy?
No, and that was the thing about it. We didn't have any wind to speak
of
for the first 2 days.
Oh my gosh! Opening day was nice, and yes, Jim, I was in the UP hunting. Second day, I started heading out to the blind, and I could just hear it in the trees.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh.
Well, the day we had all this snow, later in the day, you get just a little puff of wind, not much, but you could hear the leaves rustle, and then all of a sudden the snow started dropping because it started warming up.
Oh, really?
And you'd see big piles of snow dropping, and it's like you're talking about being on high alert at that point. You're just like, where's he at? Where's he at?
Right.
You're just back and forth looking because everything catches your eye. But most of the snow had melted off by that evening.
Oh, okay. Because we ended up Friday was windy all day, and deer were just spooky. Mm-hmm. They were not liking it at all, and they just.
And I think that this snow is probably why I didn't see a ton of deer on that second day. I really think that had a lot to do with it. I mean, we got 4 or 5 inches overnight.
See, when we have snow like that, deer activity pick up because they go into this scrounging mode.
Yeah, and I think that's why we had the night before, because the pressure was dropping, storm was coming in the next morning or overnight, and I think the deer were active that night before.
Sure.
So, but
that they just, I know the weather. We had probably about 3 inches of snow up there.
Okay.
Total, which you obviously had more than I did. So, but it made nice when we get these little bursts and kind of cover the tracks. Mm-hmm. Then you can tell the fresh ones.
Right. Yeah. It made it nice for the next day when you go out and you see, what's been out and what's come through. So definitely made it nice.
Absolutely. And then as far as the surrounding area, do you hear any reports from other camps yet?
Our neighbors come over for lunch on Saturday. I don't think they shot anything. I only got to talk to them for just a few minutes because I was busy outside skinning the coyote.
Okay.
Before I left to come home, so
gotcha.
I don't think they shot anything. The other neighbors, like I said, they shot a coyote. There wasn't a lot of shooting real close.
Okay.
So
there was when I come down the one highway, there's a camp. It's a beautiful camp, and their buck pole's right out front by the highway.
Okay.
And they had 3 bucks and a coyote hanging.
Okay.
So I was like, oh wait, that's a coyote.
It's an awful small deer.
Right. Well, they had like a long buck pole, and they had the 3 bucks on the right, and this little end of it was this hanging this coyote. It was pretty cool. So, but
I was kind of pumped up about my coyote. I mean,
absolutely,
got to shoot something. I mean, what the heck? I mean, it's long. Spent all that time in the blind, and it was a male. Unfortunately,
I tell you what, I was hoping we didn't see or hear him, and I was hoping I'd catch one coming through. Yeah. Sometimes I do when I'm over in that corner, but nothing.
Well, the problems we've been having at our camp, and they decided this before I got up there, that first the night before the opener. I got up there and they're like, we do a biggest buck contest, we do a biggest doe contest.
Yeah.
And they said, we started a new contest this year if you want in on it. And I go, you did what? And they go, biggest coyote. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. I don't get in on the contest, but I just have fun going up and
listening to what they're all betting on.
Yeah. So, see who wins and all that stuff. So, but
you'd be winning.
Yeah, that's what they said after the first day. It's like, well, you'd probably win, We ain't seen another one since. So I said, well, hopefully they all left, but I know that's not true.
No, you can only hope, right?
Yeah.
Not so much.
But
that's awesome. It sounds like it's hard to say what the season's going to be like, but the bridge count was a little high. Mm-hmm. Saw people at the check station. I'm on Facebook kind of watching it. It sounds like it's okay.
I started to stop and ask the DNR, the check stations, but I was like, I got to get home, man. I had to get home.
Absolutely. I was like, I'm on that drive, and I was just southbound and down. It was like,
I'll tell you what, we're bumping up on our last break here. Let's take our last break. We come back, we'll kind of wrap things up and talk a little bit about what we got coming next week. We'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show, everybody. Sitting here in the cabin talking about deer hunting, talking about what Danny and I have seen and what we didn't see and the reasons we think maybe that was and
what was. I think weather.
Making excuses.
Well, I don't think we have a lot of pressure up there.
Right.
And truthfully, with the amount of does I see, I don't think the bigger bucks need to go far.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I really do.
I know they travel,
mm-hmm.
but when the doe count is on the higher side and...
There's no pressure to breed.
Really? It's like...
the only pressure is to breed them all, and it takes long, so you go into that second and third trickle rut.
And then what happens is he doesn't have to go... The one to the next breeding is right over there. You know, his core area of breeding is probably shrunken down because he doesn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, there are some bucks that'll travel, and probably the younger ones who might have come up to bigger bucks and gotten pushed,
mm-hmm.
they'll travel more. But
sure.
Yeah, I don't think pressure. It kind of was a typical opening day, I think,
mm-hmm.
People wise. Any good discussions over on your deer camp at night?
The biggest discussion we had for the first two nights was about the gentleman who got shot on his own property by a guy on private or public land right next to him. Mistook him for a deer and shot and killed him. That was the biggest thing we talked about.
We heard about that. Somebody had the article about somebody got shot, mm-hmm. but was on private land and
mm-hmm.
mistaken for a buck.
Yeah, I don't get that. Okay, so if you're mistaken, number one, a human doesn't look like a deer. Secondly, if you had a buck tag, you didn't have a doe tag. So what are you doing shooting at something you can't identify the antlers on?
Oh, there's a bunch of questions.
I mean, those are. I know we're just really making this simple, and it's not so simple because somebody is dead, unfortunately. But you just lead to the very basic of basic questions of, do you not look before you put your finger on the trigger and identify your target? Do you not look and see what you're aiming at? I mean, it's
there should have been some orange involved.
Should have been. Do we know that he wasn't wearing it? I
don't know. That's what we're assuming. We're gonna say that he was wearing his orange hat at least.
Yeah.
Visible from 360 degrees. So then, like you said, identifying your target.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had a buck only tag, why weren't you waiting to identify the target?
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Well, I will say on private land, I used to wear just an orange hat.
Yep.
Sock hat. And depending on where I'm at and who's around me, if I know there's people from our camp that are hunting in the area, I wear my vest when I'm in and out of the blind.
Absolutely.
When I get in the blind, I take my vest off and hang it up. But I've at least got my orange hat on, and at a minimum to be number one, to be legal, but so I can be seen if somebody happens to be peering towards my blind and hey, there's somebody in the blind.
Right.
But anymore, from what we've heard, there was 5 people killed this week. One was not a hunting-related accident, but it was with a deer hunting rifle. 2 youngsters, and actually somebody that we knows the family. And from what I understand, I don't want to mention names or nothing, but they were looking at a gun. Hey, look, my new deer hunting rifle, and it went off. So,
and why was it loaded?
Well, there's lots of questions.
Well,
but safety.
Right, exactly.
So,
and what about our conversation came up about CWD
at camp?
Yes,
it did a little bit at our camp, but not a lot. It did in the context of people asking, well, how close is it? Where is it at? What are they doing about it? And we had a couple of that, moments of that discussion, but really didn't get into it too deep. So
we had that discussion because they did find CWD up in the county over.
Right. Yep.
So we were kind of throwing out, okay, so now what happens next year if we become a CWD hotspot?
Right. How do you manage that?
And I told him the story about Mr. Williams over there at Gun Site, not knowing that you can't take it out.
Yeah, it's got to be checked.
Right. So I was like, okay, so what are we going to do?
Yeah, how are you going to deal with that? Because you're so far from home.
Yep. I said, okay, so here's what's going to happen. If we want it, we're going to have to do it.
Yep.
We're going to have to debone it ourselves and skin it. And then if we want to have it taxidermist, we're going to find a taxidermist up there that's going to do it.
Right.
So, or you could cape it out, as long as you don't bring home no skull, bones, spinal cord.
I guess the question that you and I need to start looking into for next year, getting into next year, we need to find a taxidermist down here in this part of the state that's where it's not a CWD zone, and say, okay, Danny hunts, up in the UP, and if that becomes a management zone, how does a person, maybe you shoot the buck of a lifetime, and it's like, man, I really want my taxidermist to take care of this. How does a person go about doing it properly and taking the proper measurements or what have you to get it back downstate legally to where that your taxidermist can work on it and do a nice job?
Right. So our plan, kind of scribbled one out, is in the barn that we have up there, we're going to maybe make a corner and maybe get some stainless steel countertops.
I was just going to say, are you going to create a deboning station?
We're going to create a little processing station.
There you go.
With running water, stainless steel countertops, and if we have to, you'll have to take 4 hours out of your time to get together and
get it back home safely.
Yeah. So it did come up. It was
interesting.
It was definitely, and I said it'll be interesting to see what happens next year. Mm-hmm. So then there was a body of a downstate man was found in Oscoda.
Yeah, I read that story as well. There's not a lot to it. The man was actually from down in the Brighton Howell area.
Really?
And I think that was in Lewiston, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it says that was from Jim.
Found him.
It says right down the street.
Yeah, found him in the woods with a gunshot wound, and I don't know that they actually know if it was a deer hunting accident yet per se, but there was actually 2 like that, 2 different incidents where people were found out in the woods with a gunshot wound.
Really?
Yeah. So,
man,
just guys, gals, I mean, doggone. Before you pull the trigger, man, don't send a round down range.
The ones I worry about is the excuse of I shot at a sound, I shot at a form, I shot at a...
Yeah.
First rule of safety is identify what you're going to be shooting at, because once you release that bow or that gun or whatever you're releasing...
You can't call it back.
You can't say, oh, time out.
Yeah.
No, you can't call it back. So, it's sad, that's for sure. So
absolutely.
But, all in all, I thought it was a pretty good season.
Season ain't over.
Well,
so
gun
far.
Seasons.
Yeah.
Now there's going to be some other things that are going to happen. We're going to go into muzzle loading.
Yeah.
There's going to be some late seasons.
Right.
All coming up. There's some extended seasons they got. Yeah. The suburban ones that goes into January.
I'd like to do some hunting around here. Although I'm not real excited about getting on public land.
No way.
I mean, I've got the opportunity. I don't want to drive up north for a one-day hunt because I got to work Friday. I've got Thursday off, but I'm going to be here with the family for Thanksgiving. I got to work Friday, so I could drive up and hunt Saturday, then come back home. But I just don't want to do that.
Right, exactly. So, and it's just one of those things. But it sounded like you guys are having a good season.
Well,
you had a good season.
That was up until the second night in camp.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
septic field went out.
Did it really?
Yep. So no toilets, no showers.
What happened? Something.
It just backed up. Septic field it's full of water. They come out and pumped it, and it filled back with water, and it's shot. Yeah, it's not draining properly. So yeah, so we got 2 porta potties now. Which hey, it's old school.
Are they out? They're outside, obviously.
Oh yeah, they're outside.
Man, there's always a race in the morning. Mm-hmm. Who's going to be the first one?
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we got to deal with, and I don't know that it will be finished by the time we go up for the muzzleloader hunt. If not, then
old school.
Yep.
Wow.
Paper plates.
We were when I was up there, you showed me where the septic field was.
Yep.
And
I said, don't park there.
Yeah, don't park there. And
yeah,
now it's filling up with water.
Yeah, it's not, stuff's not leaching through the soil. It's not perking like it should.
Is there a reason for that?
I think it's just the water table, number one, and the type of soil. It's old,
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
I didn't
old.
know if they said it's because blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they just said you need a new septic field. It's shot, They said once you get to that point and it's not emptying, you need a new field. And
well, like you said, they emptied it and
moved.
it filled right back up.
Yeah. So the groundwater's running right back in on it.
Oh.
So not good.
Brutal.
Not good.
Yeah, that would kind of make for an interesting...
Yeah. So, Denny, you cracked me up, man.
Yeah, I know, Denny.
Denny, I hope you're at ATA this year. I'd like to sit down and talk with you.
Yeah, you better be at ATA.
So, but no, that was kind of a downer, man. And that's another reason I came back is just because I couldn't take a shower and facilities were, at a standstill. Like I said, I need to get back home. So I just, I rolled up.
Second year in a row, our pump was frozen.
Yeah, you had a bunch of plumbing problems too.
Oh man, it was stupidity on my part. Yeah. I should have took one more step further. I drained the water to the left.
Yeah,
I didn't drain to the right, and I should have drained to the right as well.
Right,
and ended up had to replace the pump again and the filter, and it was just so we didn't have water till Wednesday night.
Well, I did hunt the next morning, but and I came in after that and rolled out. But I saw 11 deer that morning.
There you go. See, you're seeing
another buck. So.
Right? Hey, you can't go wrong and stay warm. And when you see deer,
yeah,
it's all good.
So, yeah, when I go back up, I'm going to have one day of archery season because I'm going to go up on probably a Wednesday night after work.
Okay.
Thursday is the last day of archery before muzzleloader season opens, so I'm going to archery hunt one day, and then starts muzzleloader season for the next 2.5 days.
Right.
So
nice.
It'll be game on for meat at that point. So the does better beware.
Exactly.
Just saying.
No, it's a good thing. And we did see a deer that had a collar on.
Interesting.
And if it's the same deer we saw 3 years ago, it's one that they have tagged the Mississippi one.
Oh, Mississippi State?
Yep. And if it's the one, it's been in the area for at least 4 years now, I think. We've seen it at our property, and we've seen it, it's about 2 miles as the crow flies.
Okay.
North.
Which is not any stretch for a deer.
No, not at all. So we seen that, and but it's cool.
That's good. You going to get back up again or not?
No, probably not. I'll probably be done.
Okay.
I got to hang around here. And
hopefully you're coming to camp with me for muzzleloader.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get up there, and you hopefully have a septic field.
If not, it's going to be a cold sit in the outhouse.
I'll let you go first.
Hey, I ain't scared. Hey, you do what you got to do,
Right?
At that point.
I hear you. I hear you.
Well, I'm glad you're back. Glad you got back safe. Glad you guys had a good time.
Glad both camps.
Yeah.
Safe and sound. Had good hunts.
Safe and sound's first thing.
Absolutely.
Especially after what happened this week.
So. Well, yeah, exactly. And so now we get to look forward to next Sunday's show.
That's right. And next Sunday, if Jim Miller, if you're still watching, I think it was last week or week before last when we got the little per plate call from Lim Walker Game Calls. Tim Sias is the owner, and he is going to be on the show with us next week. Good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise and connection works. He's from West Virginia, and we're going to have him on the show, and we're going to talk about his calls. We're going to check into the West Virginia deer season, see how they're doing down there. And hopefully at some point they're going to get a deer because when they do, we're going to have a little special live stream from the boys down in West Virginia.
Well, I tell you what, if that's the case, then don't forget to go over to our sponsors, Hunter's Blend Coffee.
Absolutely.
Get over there. Use our promo code, capital UNJ, for 10% off. Get your coffee. this week so you can have some for next week's show.
That's right, absolutely. And don't forget, PSC has their new lineup out. The 2019 bows are out and in the shops. I saw Jim Beasley on here just a little while ago from Spot Shooter Archery. Get over to his shop, check some stuff out. If you need that bow tuned up, I know indoor leagues are going to be starting. And Danny, you and I have talked about, I think we're going to shoot a little league this year.
Jason Radecki's got a little tip.
What's that?
Hang the toilet seat by the stove.
I don't think that would go over too well. We have a mixed crowd at deer camp, so.
Oh man,
yeah, that's why we have 2 porta-johns.
That's right, his and hers.
That's right. So
that's fine.
Yeah, but that's all good.
Yep, exactly. So next week we're gonna have Tim on talking about his line of calls and
how the deer season's going down in West Virginia.
Well, he sent us a lot of pictures.
Yeah, and we need to talk to him about that, about the archery only counties that they have there.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Where did Dan get his buck?
I don't know. I don't know what county. He was in West Virginia.
Okay.
He was in West Virginia. Yeah, Dan Yass, congratulations. Shot a nice buck down in West Virginia this week. So.
Yeah, we'll have to get a picture of it. We'll throw it up on next week's show. And then I'll be able to get some pictures to you, kind of give you a little bit more of what I saw sitting in the blind.
Okay, right on. All right. Well, I tell you what, for the podcast, folks, that's going to do it for us this week. Tune in next week. We'll be talking a little bit of turkey calls, something you can get for Christmas from Tim down in West Virginia, and throw some pictures up and talk about a little deer hunting down there as well.
Yeah.
Y'all take care. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Winsett Hunting Sense,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Game Calls,
Twisted Minds Bowstrings,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Antler Action,
and Family Traditions Tree Stands.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week on the Up North Journal.